Welcome back, guys, to Football Dynasties. I'm your host, Dell. This is the Week 4 recap. Pretty good week of football. A lot more high-scoring games this week. Also, a lot of games where we were kind of scratching our heads. That Broncos-Jets game was not the funnest watch. I don't even think that's a word or whatever, but it wasn't fun. Watching Aaron Rodgers throw for 225 and Bo Nix, I believe, did he break 60? Yeah, he threw for 60 yards and somehow the Broncos won that game. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's recap week 4. It brought us some joy. It brought some of us some pain. If you are a Rashee Rice owner, as am I, what do we do with our team going forward to fill the Rashee Rice production that he was doing in the first few weeks? There's not a whole lot. He was a top 5 receiver going into the week. He went in and got the fumble that ended up not being recovered by the Chiefs anyway. So, yeah, he got hurt. I'm bummed. Rashee Rice is out. We still haven't gotten any information as to whether or not it's going to be that torn ACL. I mean, at this point, my guess is that it is. But they're saying that with all the swelling, that first MRI, you couldn't tell what was going on. I've seen other numerous sources on X, Instagram, everything saying that if they can't tell you concrete evidence right out of the gate from that first MRI, he may have just a partial tear, things like that. But at the same time, he is going to miss time anyway. So going forward, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, that's probably going to be the number one options for Patrick Mahomes going forward. So if you have any of those guys, you're going to get probably more production out of them. The running back position, Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele had he had one fumble early on in the game. And that was enough for them to bench him essentially because he only saw 2 carries. He only saw one more carry after that. And then it was the Kareem Hunt show. So if you picked up Kareem Hunt before this waiver wire week, you are looking at a possible 10 to 15 point player, potentially, depending on what league you're playing in. But he'll at least give you that. The Chiefs did win the game 17-10. I didn't say that earlier. Sorry. Hard for me to say that the Chargers lost the football game, but it is what it is. Herbert still injured. He looked a little slow. He only got sacked twice in that game, which was pretty interesting that he didn't get sacked a few more times because he was hobbling out there. Definitely wasn't at 100%. The Chargers offense definitely took a step back this week. A couple of drives that cost the Chargers to get the ball moving. Ladd McConkey is looking like he's going to be the only option going forward. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. Saints-Falcons. That game I thought was going to be a lot more high scoring for fantasy. 26-24, Falcons got the win on a Young-Hoo Ko. Hope I said his name right. On a 258-yard field goal game winner there. Both quarterbacks, huge letdowns. Neither one of them, I think, got to 20 points. On my sleeper, they definitely did not. Carr, Cousins, almost identical stat lines. 239 for Carr, 238 for Cousins. No TDs, both threw a pick. It was basically the Alvin Kamara show as far as fantasy in this game. I wanted to talk about Alvin Kamara. How long do we think he can sustain this? As of right now, it's looking pretty good. He is getting 19 carries. I think he's averaging, if I look that up, about 18 and a half to 19 and a half touches altogether if you count receptions and everything. And, he's about 35 to 40% of the offense right now. He is a little bit older. He has missed some time, though, so he's definitely a little bit more fresh. Coming in from last season into this season. So the question is just, can he sustain this level of production? For now, you're keeping him in no matter what, I think, until he shows us otherwise. I am one of those believers that I think he can keep this production up. He definitely needs a couple more guys, Jamal Williams, Taysom Hill's in there once in a while, kind of spell him a little bit. They're really hoping Jamal Williams was going to come along this season to help with that. But as of right now, it's pretty much just been the Kamara show. Chris Olave looked really good again. 8 receptions, 87 yards, no touchdown, but that's okay. But now there's starting to be more of a pattern where Carr is actually looking for him a little bit more. He's been targeted at least 10 to 11 times in the last 2 games, which is good if you're an Olave guy. And Rashid Shaheed, impressive outing again, 8 receptions, 80 plus yards. So it looks like the Saints have kind of found their 1-2 punch in the receiving. Kamara with 7 receptions. Again, that's no joke, man. If he's going to give you 18, 19 carries plus another 5 to 7 receptions, this guy's going to be a 20-plus point monster every week. Do you trade Kamara? No. I think you just hold on to him, especially if you're trying to win a championship this year. A lot of people I'm hearing out there that they want to start trading him, get him moving around, try to see what they can get for him while his value's probably at an all-time high right now still. I don't think he'll have that same value come the end of the year going into next year, because I believe he's going to be 30 next season at the start of the year. That's usually that big number for running backs. Derrick Henry is 30. He's proven it wrong. And Kamara just an alien, man. So who knows? The Falcons, not much from the Falcons, man. Bijan, quiet day. Algier had more carries than him. He did have 4 receptions for 46 yards. So as far as if you're in a PPR league, that's going to help. We can't have Bijan having bad games like this. And I mean, it's a bad game, but he still had over 10 points. But we expect a lot more from Bijan. We know how explosive he is. Kyle Pitts with the old 0-0 for 0. I just traded for Kyle Pitts, believe it or not. And I'm actually a little excited about it because he's still only 23 years old, so anything can happen. I am almost waiting for maybe Michael Penix to get in. That's just wishful thinking because I have him in one of my leagues, my sleeper leagues as well. But Kyle Pitts, 0 for 0. We need a lot more from him. He had a couple of targets, just couldn't haul them in. But the Saints-Falcons game, there wasn't a whole lot. Just Kamara. So let's move on. Rams-Bears. Rams-Bears game was strange to me. And I've watched every snap of Caleb Williams' career thus far. And the only thing I can say is this man needs to run north to south. Because right now he is running east, west, southwest, southeast. He is not gaining yards. He scrambles so much around because he's trying to look for the big play downfield. I get it. He doesn't want to be known as a rushing quarterback from just watching him play, which is weird. Jaden Daniels doesn't care. He's getting it out there. He's getting his 40 yards. Kyler Murray, although Kyler's kind of slowing down a little bit in the rush game thus far, but Caleb he's got to get more north to south a little bit for us, especially for fantasy. 157 yards is just not going to do it. You can tell his receiving corps frustrated. DJ Moore's on the bench, sitting down on the end by himself, pouting, not happy. Keenan Allen, 3 catches. Rome Odunze, 1 catch, 2 targets. If Caleb's going to throw for 157 yards a game, we're in trouble. I have a couple of the Bears receivers because I thought for sure Caleb and the boys were going to be slinging it all day. It's still only 4 games in. We're not going to overreact just yet. But let's talk about DeAndre Swift, who finally had himself a game. 16 carries, 93 on the ground, touchdown on the ground with 7 receptions and 70-plus yards. I mean, you can't have a better fantasy day for a running back than that. Is this going to continue going forward? I don't know. Roschon Johnson looks like he's going to be getting a lot more looks. He had 7 carries. He's looking like he's going to be the goal line guy. But if Swift is going to have games like this where, he's got a run for 20, 25 plus yards, he may continue to get the bulk of it. So going forward, we're just going to keep an eye on the carries. Next week, though, I'm probably going to just start DeAndre Swift either way. I don't want to, after a big game like this, you don't want to bench the guy. So we'll give him a run one more week and we'll see what happens. As far as DJ Keenan and Rome, I'm going to start DJ. I'm going to keep starting him. He did get the touchdown, but 22 yards is just not going to cut it for him. He's definitely looking to be more involved in the offense. So we just need Caleb to start just slinging it. He threw for 360 plus a week ago, so we know he can throw it. Maybe that Rams defense was getting to him. Problems with the O-line a little bit. Not sure. Just watching the game, it looked like he's just holding on to it a little bit too long. So he's got to help his team out by just getting rid of that ball a little bit quicker. The Rams, not much from the Rams. Kyren Williams show. 94 on the ground and a touchdown. Stafford didn't play all that great, but that Bears defense is tough to play against. So I wasn't expecting him to have a monster game, especially with no Kupp, no Puka. It's going to be tough for the Rams going forward, aside from probably Kyren. So for the moment, fantasy, we're not starting anybody on the Rams, except for probably Kyren for sure, 100%. Jordan Whittington might be my other start. Colby Parkinson, the tight end. If you're in need of a tight end and you're in a big 10, 12-man league, that might be a good play. But aside from that, I'm not sure if I want to touch any Rams players aside from those guys. Vikings Packers. Now that was a game. At the beginning of the game, I changed it pretty much once it was 21-0. And then just slowly looking at the ticker on the bottom, Packers got a turnover. All of a sudden, they're moving the ball. They get 2 quick touchdowns, and we got ourselves a ball game towards the end of that fourth quarter, right? But the Vikings ended up winning 31-29. Sam Darnold, man, I don't know what it is. I thought for sure he was maybe done, but he's proving us wrong right now. Another great performance going forward. I'm starting Sam Darnold if I have him. He is I don't know if he's top 5, I think, right? And sleeper and all that. I believe so. Yeah, he's like 7, 8. 3 touchdowns, 275. I mean, that's going to be good enough for us to just say, keep riding with him. They just got Addison back, so that offense is going to be clicking. He's going to have another weapon. Justin Jefferson, 85 for a touchdown. Great game. Nice little catch right there in the end zone in that corner. That corner's got to be looking, man. You can't have your back turned and Jefferson running in the end zone like that. You just can't do that. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is another one of those guys like Alvin Kamara, man. The age. He'll be 30 next season as well. But he's not slowing down. So maybe the older running back stereotype is kind of getting away a little bit for a moment. Kamara and Aaron Jones are proving that to be true this season thus far. I do like Aaron Jones in this Vikings offense. He's getting that freedom to kind of do a little bit more. And he looks like he's enjoying life, man. 4 catches as well, 46 yards. Love it. Let's just keep starting all the Vikings players. Until proven otherwise, I'm starting Darnold. I'm starting Jefferson, Addison, Jones. We're going to keep going with those guys. Now, on the Packers side, man, if we can get a game from Jordan Love for $389, we're starting everybody. We're starting Reed, Wicks, Kraft, Romeo Doubs. I mean, yeah, they fell behind early, so that's probably why the numbers are so inflated. But if you're watching the games, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, man, those guys are monsters. Christian Watson got injured, so he's going to be out. So Dontavian and Romeo are probably going to see a few more snaps. There's no doubt in my mind, though, that Jaden Reed is the number one for the Packers going forward. That dude, he can just get open. He's fast. They're putting him in motion a lot, and he's looking for him. And Jordan Love, before he got injured in week 1, I mean, Reed had himself a game in week 1 in Philly. Or not in Philly, in Brazil against Philadelphia. And he hasn't slowed down. I thought, with Malik Willis being inputted in there, he was going to slow down. And no, he hasn't. He's still a top 6 wide receiver for fantasy purposes right now. So Reed, Wicks, Romeo Doubs, that receiving core with Christian Watson going down, those 3 guys. I would probably start for sure Reed and Wicks, Romeo Doubs, depending on the matchup. Josh Jacobs, I mean, if he's going to give them 9 and 50 on the ground, that'll be good for them. He needs to see a little bit more in the running game there. But again, this game was a little bit weird. They got down so quickly. So that kind of changed the offense in the second half. But I mean, if we get games like this every week, I'm in. Steelers Colts. Let's touch quickly on that game. Big thing coming out of that game was Anthony Richardson. He had that hip pointer. All indications are that he will be good to go for this week, possibly. It's not looking like he will miss any time, and they said if he did, it would be short. So Joe Flaco, if you need a quarterback this week, might not be a bad pickup. Keep an eye out for the injuries over Wednesday night, and going into Thursday, we'll get more updates. But yeah, man, Joe Flacco came in. Colts won 27-24, and Joe Flacco looked good. I mean, if Flacco's playing quarterback, I'm playing Pittman, I'm playing Downs. It just looked like a totally different offense. Anthony Richardson has just so inconsistent with his accuracy, right? I think for the year, he's probably around 50% completion percentage, if I'm not mistaken. 50.6, QBR of 48 for the season thus far. That's not what we need from him if he's not going to give us the running numbers, right? Especially for fantasy. But maybe it'll do him some good to watch Joe Flacco play. He had a blast watching Joe Flacco play. I like how Joe at the end of that game right there in that interview where I guess he was messing around with the AR, and he basically said, well, I'm not that cool, dude, because I'm 8 days older than your mom. So I thought that was pretty funny. Joe Flacco being only 8 days older than Anthony Richardson's mom tells you how long Flacco's been in this league. But he produces, man. Joe Flacco in the playoffs. Still don't know why the Browns let him go. Oh well. Colts gain, I guess. If Anthony Richardson isn't going to be available, they got a great, solid quarterback. Miami, make a phone call. Get Joe Flacco in there. Jonathan Taylor on the ground. 21 for 88 and a touchdown. Another good performance from him. But he also came out banged up a little bit. That ankle, we got to keep an eye on it. If you haven't yet, go pick up Trey Sermon. He is definitely the number 2 in that backfield. And we all know the history with Jonathan Taylor. Ankle issues. He can miss some time. Michael Pittman, 6 for 113. He's loving Joe Flaco. Josh Downs, 8 for 82 and a touchdown. I mean, if anybody benefits from Joe Flacco playing, it's the receivers. So, I don't know. You're obviously not going to put Joe Flacco in over Anthony Richardson if he's 100%. But just kind of like how when Andy Dalton went in for Carolina last week. It's a big difference, man, when you have a guy who can actually throw and get dudes open. Justin Fields, Pittsburgh Steelers, 300 and a touchdown. I mean, I know my boy Chad's happy because he didn't want to trade him. I tried to get Fields at the beginning of the year, was not happening. Smart on his part. He had a monster day, over 40 plus points for fantasy, 55 on the ground, 2 touchdowns, three total touchdowns. He combined for about 380 total yards. This is kind of the Justin Fields that Chicago was probably hoping to see. But what they're doing with Caleb, I'm happy for Fields that he left. So, yeah, man. Justin Fields, if you can get him, go get him. Trade for him if you can. I don't think we're ever going to see Russell Wilson in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform except for when he's sitting on the sideline with the pads on as the emergency QB. If I'm Russ, I just tell him to let me go home. And, yeah, I don't want to sit on the sideline. George Pickens, 7 catches, $113. He's also loving life with Fields, man. Fields is looking for him. He is averaging about 9.8 targets a game. Love that for him. Freiermuth, he has come to life with one of the better tight end performances of the season. 57 yards on 5 catches and a touchdown. Tight ends this season have been hard to find and get points. So Freiermuth, it's another option if you're looking for one. He is available. Let's move on to the next game. Again, guys, any fantasy questions, put it in the comments. Let me know. I will try to get back to you as quick as I can. The Eagles and the Buccaneers. That's another surprise game of the weekend. They shut down Saquon in that first half. He had a better second half. He ended up having 84 yards, a couple of catches, but for the most part, quiet game on the Eagles' offensive side. I had a feeling it would be, especially with no Devontae, no AJ. Goddard is a good player, man, but he needs his guys that are opening up space for him so he can get going. But he still had a good game, 7 catches, 62 yards. Again, that was good for like third tight end performance of the week. I can't emphasize how bad the tight ends are playing this year, and I think we're all very, very frustrated with that. I have Brock Bowers, and he's like number 2, I think, in fantasy right now, and I don't even think he has a touchdown yet. I can't even remember. I'll have to look that one up. But Tampa took out Philly, 33-16. Let's touch on a few more, and then I got some notes here for some potential fantasy players going forward that you're going to want to keep an eye on. What did we have on this one right here? Oh, yeah, Texans, Jaguars. Christian Kirk, he's kind of like a lot of people kind of gave up on him, especially because of the way the first few games were going. Trevor Lawrence is not looking as efficient as he was. His quarterback rating and his QBR keep dropping every game, but he's still throwing touchdowns, and he's looking for Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas. So I still think those are good starts every week, Brian Thomas and Christian Kirk. If anything, Trevor Lawrence is just going to be free to just start slinging the ball going forward. It was a good game in Houston, and throughout that first quarter, and then that third quarter kind of slowed down just a little bit. The Texans kind of got that defense a little bit more worked out, I guess. They kind of figured out what the Jaguars were doing in that first half. They were able to shut them down. And they ended up getting the W, 24-20. DJ Stroud, once again, 345, 2 touchdowns. Great game from CJ. Love to see that. Cam Akers, they gave him the touches, man, and he's just not producing what we were hoping for. And as soon as Joe Mixon gets back, I'm sure he'll get the bulk of the carries. So Cam Akers, I feel like he just kind of didn't take that second chance and ran with it. Nico Collins, 12 for 151 and a touchdown. Man, this guy might be the dude, man. He is so good. I've watched all his snaps this season so far, and it's incredible, man. That guy can get off the line. He can play with probably the best of the best. I'm not sure if they play the Jets this year. I got to look that up, but Nico is, man, he is so good. He's such a beast. Phil, I can't believe you gave him away to Manny for absolutely nothing last season. This guy is top 5 receivers in the league right now. Just looking at him, the way he's running, the way he's catching. So Nico, he's the guy for sure. Let's talk one more game. What was the one that I wanted to really, really touch on? Just because I was... Oh, yeah. How could I forget? Monday Night Football, Lions and Seahawks. Man, that was a game. If we can get games like that every Monday night, we will all be happy. For fantasy reasons, for just watching football reasons. But watching Geno throw almost for 400, he was 5 yards shy. He threw for 395 and a touchdown. That's great, man. I mean, DK, JSN, they were all getting in on it. Geno he's no scrub, man. He gets a lot of disrespect, I think, around the league because of the way his career started. But right now, he is a solid QB, and if he's going to be throwing for 300 plus, you better believe he's going to start getting 2-3 touchdown games here very, very soon. DK is solid as they come. JSN is becoming a solid receiver, playing in the Y and then playing in the slot. So I'm starting to like this Seahawks offense, man. Kenneth Walker came back, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's just monster stuff right there. I thought they were going to actually ease him in, and Charbonnet was still going to get majority of the snaps there, but he did not. And Charbonnet was able to get, I think, a total of, 50, 60, but he had 5 catches, which is good, full PPR. But I think I was as surprised as everyone to see that Kenneth Walker got as much play as he did. Going forward, Charbonnet might not be a flex play anymore unless something comes up with Walker's injury or anything like that. So I'm looking at Charbonnet as an emergency flex at best right now if I don't have anything else going. The Lions offense, man. Jared Goff finally showed up in the dome. 290, 2 touchdowns. Caught a passing touchdown from Amon-Ra. Finally had the game we've been hoping for. 18 for 18. That's awesome. Rushing, Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. They're going to continue to be that 2-headed monster. I'm starting both of those guys every single week. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like the more explosive runner for sure. But Montgomery he's no slash man. If he starts running, you better believe that they're going to just keep feeding him. If he starts getting in there and gaining those yards inside the tackles, they for sure will keep feeding him. But Gibbs, man, out of the backfield in tight games, I'm surprised they don't use him a lot more. He didn't register a single catch in this game, which was crazy. So he was able to do all his damage on 14 touches, which is incredible. But I don't see that happening every week. So unless we can see Jahmyr get involved in the passing game a little bit more. I think Montgomery is going to be the guy because he'll definitely be the number one RB. And I think the carries are being split for sure. But we need to see Gibbs get involved more in that receiving aspect. Laporta citing everyone. 4 catches, 53 yards. Woo! That was good enough to get him to be like tight end number 6 for the week. I mean, it's crazy. Again, I can't emphasize how much these tight ends are making me angry. But I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. So we'll touch on that during the week or during next week. Hopefully this week that the tight ends bounce back. And I have not a new segment, but I've got some fantasy players here. I got a list for you guys that I want you guys to start keeping an eye on going forward. These guys are, I wouldn't say sleepers because we know majority of these guys are out there, but keep your eye on Jahan Dotson for Philly. Yeah, I know, like, why when Devontae and AJ come back for sure. But even when Devontae and AJ were out there, he was still averaging about 80% of the snaps. So there's a name to keep an eye on for sure. Going forward, Eric All, the tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. If you haven't seen him yet, this guy, he's a beast. He is just continuing to block. But he is slowly sneaking out of that backfield and being the known commodity for Burrow. Burrow, through the first 4 weeks, leads the league in passes intended and targeted for the tight ends. So keep that in mind. I know Jamar Chase and T. Higgins get majority of the reps and most of the targets, obviously. But Eric All in a Dynasty league, if he is available, pick him up and ride with Tank Bigsby, man. He's not a secret, obviously, but if you can get Tank Bigsby, go get him. ETN's got that shoulder, and you just don't know. We don't know what can happen, especially with the injuries this year so far to the running backs. Austin Eckler, he'll be back from PUP. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Before he got that injury, he wasn't necessarily splitting carries, but he was getting 40% of the carries, and he was being used in the return game. And he may or he can break one. We saw him break one in week 2. It got called back, but that he's got that explosiveness, and I still think he's got that. Luke McCaffrey is another name. Christian McCaffrey's brother, he's not suffering from any tendonitis in his Achilles. So he's a name I want you guys to look for. Luke McCaffrey, especially for you guys that are in Dynasty for sure. Okay, guys, I had one more. Davante Adams, he's no secret, but you got to go try to trade for this man. He's unhappy. He apparently has requested a trade, and the rumor mill is he wants the Jets or the Saints. I think both would be good destinations for him. He doesn't have a say in where he goes, but I'm sure that they will. They don't have to, but I'm sure that they'll take what he wants into account a little bit. Like I said, he's no secret. We all know Davante Adams is a beast, but if you can, try to buy him now, because once he is traded, his value is going to go up and it'll be tough to get. So that's one of my trade targets for the week is going to be Davante Adams. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Like, follow, subscribe. Any questions you may have, put it there in the comments. I will try to respond as quick as we can. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys for Start and Sit on Saturday.